Okay, so like I said, we're gonna do a class today, kind of around the idea of gardening aftercare, because I know a lot of us do yard work. And I was talking to Laura yesterday on the phone about how you can just get lost in the yard work and hours can go by and you forgot about your lower back and you forgot about your neck and all that. So we're gonna do some aftercare, which is a good thing to practice when you finish gardening or yard work or anything that you're bending over a lot. It's also a very hot day, so we're going to do kind of a cooling practice, which means we're not going to be super vigorous about it. We are going to do a lot seated with our strap, working on opening the shoulders and the chest. So make sure you have a strap. I'm also going to take a moment during this class for you to use a wall. So if you don't have a wall that's on camera, it's okay. You can step off camera and just hopefully you can still hear me. But the wall is necessary. A chair can't replace the wall for these certain moves that we're going to do. So go ahead and just bring yourself into that more active seated position where you aren't relying on the back of the chair. You are sitting up on top of your sitting bones. You find your shoulders arising above the hips, which usually means we're moving them back. And then take a moment to make sure your feet are grounded right underneath your knees. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Your hands should rest somewhere comfortably that keeps your shoulders sitting back. And then either closing your eyes or lowering your gaze. Some people, when they close their eyes, their mind goes elsewhere. So if that's what happens to you, just try to keep your eyes slightly open so that you can really stay present. And just start to bring attention into your body. Maybe for the first time today, maybe not. Just kind of letting your attention, just like the sun rising, and just kind of spreading light throughout your body. The sun comes up over the horizon line, it starts to shed light on the entire landscape. So just kind of imagine you're shining the light of attention throughout your body, just bringing awareness inside of yourself. And you can notice different sensations. There's, of course, the breathing, which there's many facets of the breath you can pay attention to. Noticing tension, maybe you're feeling a little tight in your jaw. Maybe your facial skin is somewhat tightened or contracted. Maybe there's some tension in the abdomen. And just see if you can sense parts of your body that are speaking to you this morning. Maybe they're the regulars. Maybe there's some new guys there. It's always important to begin to practice where we truly are, physically, mentally, emotionally, and that we also begin to practice in a present state of mind. So as you're ready, we'll join our hands together in front of our heart. And as you're ready, exhale down toward your heart. And then let your hands release down. Lift your head and open your eyes. And welcome. I don't know about you, but I am simply loving this class, and I hope you guys are too. I don't think there's any level of being a yoga practitioner that's too advanced for this type of practice. Honestly, I think it's good for everyone. So we're going to do a cooling style of breath. Normally in yoga, we breathe in and out of the nose. When it's extra warm out, it's a nice way to kind of lower your temperature and feel cooler. So it's as if you're sipping through a straw with your lips on the inhale. And on the exhale, you can close your lips, releasing the breath through the nose. And anytime we work with breath, and you can just keep practicing that while I'm talking, anytime we work with breath, the most important qualities are smoothness and steadiness. And the third one, that you're not annoying yourself. Okay, so the whole purpose of breathing is to not agitate the mind, it's to calm the mind. So if this is all too much and you're feeling irritated, forget it. just do either one and then do a few repetitions of normal, or just skip it. Okay, so watching the brain and making sure your breath is smooth and steady. So we'll do about 8 rounds of the full inhale through the straw, little hole in your mouth, lips, and exhaling out the nostrils. You can just count off your own breaths. Feel free to take some normal cycles of breath between, with a couple more to go here. And after your little straw sucking next inhale, you can just return to easy breathing. It's always a good idea just to spend a little bit of time following any breathing practice that you do, just to notice any effects you might feel. Maybe you don't notice anything at all. So but taking the time to sit with it and see what you feel. So we're going to move on. We're going to come into a chair back bend. Now I realize everybody has different chairs. So you're going to have to kind of work with your own chair. But the idea is wherever your chair back, the height of it is, you want to align that chair back with your some people call it the bra line. In co-ed classes, we call it the armpit line. But it's basically the shoulder blade region that sits right behind the sternum. And then if you can grab your chair legs low, it will give your shoulders a chance to kind of release down. And I grab my chair legs kind of in an underhanded fashion, so my palm stays forward, which helps me turn my shoulders externally, which is kind of what we have to reprogram our shoulders to do. Most of us are kind of always in an internally rotated shoulder state, which is a contracted chest, kind of a collapsed, depressive sensation. So take care of your neck. You have to do a little bit of self-supporting here of your neck. You're probably going to tip your head slightly back. And the thing we want to really feel with the chest is it's broadening. And the support of the chair is really wonderful because it's a natural kind of scaffolding to keep the chest lifted and spread. If you get tired, if your neck is getting tired, feel free to release your arms and just clasp the back of the head and support your head that way. Anytime we do back bending, you have to pay attention to your pelvic tilt. The pelvis probably is trying to tip forward right now. So you're going to just imagine your tailbone and see if you can take your tailbone into the soft tissue of your body. So basically away from the back of the chair toward the front of the chair. You're trying to tip the pelvis back, and hopefully you feel a little bit of relief in your lower back when you do that. Good. And now you're going to go ahead and start to inhale and come out of it. And we're not going to do any extreme forward bending today because that would be antithetical to the purpose of the class today. But you can just kind of sit forward on your forearms on your thighs and just kind of counter what you just did. Don't do any deep back bending or forward bending today though. We're going to try to eliminate as much of that as we can. Okay, so now you can come into seated upright. You can use the back of the chair if you'd like. We're going to work with the neck and shoulders now. So your hands again are as close to your torso as they can be on your lap so that your shoulders sit back. You're going to keep your chest lifted, and then you're going to drop your chin down toward your chest. We're trying to access the weight of the head. And on an in-breath, just start to roll your head in one direction. And on the out-breath, back to center. And you're just kind of establishing a baseline. Go to the other side on the in-breath, back to center. So if you ever notice that when you have certain kind of tension patterns in your body, over time we learn to avoid them completely. So this happens to be one of mine. My neck is just crazy tight. And every single time I do this, it's like opening a can of worms, kind of what I feel like. It's, oh yeah, there it is. And I must do a really good job of ignoring it because it only really shows up when I address it like this. Doesn't have to be true for you. I'm just sharing that we do learn certain ways to kind of cleverly avoid those tension patterns, and then they just, of course, fester and get worse. So that's kind of why we're here, right? Keep the cobwebs out of the body. So just do a few more. Hopefully you're starting to feel maybe a little change. It's okay if you aren't. It helps to inhale to the side and exhale to center. And then when you come back to center next time, feel free to lift your head. And if you need to, you're going to pull away from the chair because we're going to work with shoulders. You might not need to, it's just that we need space to move. So you're going to start with a shoulder rotation that's moving the shoulders in a forward pattern, which is kind of encouraging what we don't want the shoulders to do, but we're just going to start there and we'll finish with the right kind of action. So you're making a small circular shape with your shoulders. And just like our breathing, what's most important here is smoothness and steadiness. The same two qualities that we look for with breathing, we're looking for here. So if it feels really jerky, my suggestion is to slow it down or make it smaller or do both. And if you're able to have kind of a big range of motion with the smoothness and steadiness, go for that. So do a few more. I'm going to go. I have this robot that's making noise. I'll be right back. Okay. So now you're going to land and just reverse direction. And now this movement encourages us to really keep the shoulders back, the chest lifted and spread. You might notice your shoulder blades wandering around the back body, gliding, massaging your back body. Next time your shoulders come kind of back, leave them there. So they're right above the hips. Chest is still lifted. I think from a couple weeks ago, you guys remember your eagle pose. We're going to do that. That's a great way to open the upper back. So we're going to start with this kind of like we're holding a box position, your elbows in line with your shoulders. And then you're going to take your left elbow and stack it underneath your right elbow. For some of us, it's going to be easier and better to grab the shoulders and lift the elbows up and invite the upper back to open. And for others, you might be able to wrap your arms, your forearms together so that one hand finds the other palm. So do whatever version works best for you. So the idea here, yes, of course, to open upper back, but not at the cost of collapsing your chest. So can you find a way to keep your chest lifted and spread, your shoulders back, and your upper back open? There's so much kind of seductive upward moving energy in this pose. Keep track of just kind of keeping your feet planted, keeping your sitting bones planted, keeping your eyes relaxed. Keep your temples distending, which seems kind of weird, but if you think about it, it helps the face relax. On an exhale, you're just going to lower those elbows so that you can unwrap the arms and go back to that little box shape with your arms. And we'll do the other side. Welcome, Shar. So you're going to cross the arms. Now this time, I'm going to have the right elbow under the left. Grab your shoulders, or have your right hand find your left palm. Okay, so it's tempting to just collapse the chest and have the shoulders push forward. Try to reverse that, shoulders back, chest forward. And as you lift elbows, the upper back will broaden. If you feel like your eyes are pulling forward, which can happen here, you might close them. And every time you breathe in, there's a chance to really spread the upper back. A lot of us get tension underneath the scapula, the shoulder blades. This is a great way to bring some breath and some space and some opening there. After an in-breath, you can use the exhale to release. Unwrap your arms. You might do little circles with your arms just to release any kind of fatigue that might have shown up there. And now we're going to do a series of poses that will lead us into the cow pose arms, which you may or may not remember, but that one will require your strap, not immediately though. So I just moved forward because I need a little space behind me. We're going to clasp our hands behind our backs. So you can interlock your fingers and you're going to try to take your hands over to your left sideways. And if it's not all the way to the side, that's okay. Just move them as far to the side as you can. Now everybody sees this left elbow poking out. Try to pin it back so it's like it's hidden. Yep. And then I want you to think about your right shoulder. In yoga, a lot we actually work with movement of flesh, and that's surface flesh, not just muscle. So think about the flesh of your right shoulder turning from the front shoulder to the back. That's what we're trying to encourage, because that will bring the shoulder into the external rotation that helps us keep our chests forward. I don't know if I've said this in this class already, but I like to say it kind of regularly, that the lineage that I follow, the Iyengar tradition, BKS Iyengar, said that the sign of aging is a dried out breastbone. So we're trying to polish our breastbones constantly in this practice. We want to keep that breastbone forward. Okay, so now we're going to move to the other side. And if it's painful, remember, we don't work with pain in yoga, so we want to be in front of the pain, not behind it. So we want to be working our edge, which means there's enough sensation, but it's not overwhelming you. So remember to tuck that right elbow in. And just bring your awareness to left shoulder. Try to roll the flesh from the front of the shoulder to the back of the shoulder. Remember, when you're doing back bends, this is considered a back bend, your tailbone wants to fly back. We need to correct it to gently push it forward into the soft tissue. Tip the pelvic bowl back. So if you think about your pelvis as a bowl, you're tipping that bowl back. You should feel some length opening up in the lower back. Just a couple more breaths. Okay, and go ahead and release. Again, do what you need to do here to release the arms. Might be circles. So we're still prepping for this Gomukhasana, this cow pose. We're gonna do what's called fixing the arms. And we're gonna fix the bottom arms first, and then we'll fix the top arms, and then we'll put it all together. So we're going to fix the left arm first. You're going to run your left forearm behind your back. With your right hand, you're going to grab your wrist, your left wrist. And now you're going to pull that arm to the right. Good. And imagine that your left elbow is directly in line with your left shoulder. That's the appropriate position. Now here's the real challenge. Keep that left elbow where it is. Try to. You can let go with your right hand, that can just be off duty. And then see if keeping that left elbow where it is, you can slide your left hand to the mid upper back. It's okay if you can't. Okay, good. So that's fixing the bottom arm. Let's do the other side. So go ahead and release. Now we're going to take right arm behind, forearm behind the back. Left hand is going to grab, wrist probably. Pull. So you're inviting right elbow to come more in line with right shoulder. Okay. And now keep some pressure of the forearm against your back so you don't lose that good alignment you have. You can put left hand off duty and slide back of right hand to the mid upper back. You'll lose some of that movement toward midline with the elbow, but the idea is to keep the elbow pulling in. Nice work. Go ahead and release. That's a lot for the shoulders. So go ahead and just like take care of yourself. Whatever those intuitive movements, we all have them. Like I need to do this right now. Do those. And now we're going to work on the upper arm. So there's two main actions that we can do to kind of encourage the wise actions that are involved in this arm. So let's go back to left arm. Raise it up, straight up. Rotate the arm.
so that the palm now faces back. So it's an inward rotation of the arm. Good. So now, right now you have left elbow above left shoulder. You want to keep that. You're going to try to bend at the elbow and touch your mid upper back. And once you're touching mid upper back, just give a little pressure through the fingertips and drive that left elbow tip back and reach up through it as well. This is the action of the arm. Reaching up and taking the elbow tip back. Wonderful. You got it. Go ahead and extend the arm, release the arm. Woohoo. Other side. So we'll raise the right arm. You're going to turn that arm as strongly as you can to internally rotate into palm face back position. Elbow in line with shoulder. Touch your mid back, mid upper back. Extend up through the elbow tip. Put a little pressure into your fingertips. So as the elbow goes back, the shoulder blade goes forward. That's what we want, because the shoulder blade is scaffolding for the polished breastbone. Good, so you should feel the flesh really energizing up here. Another thing he said, which I think is hilarious, but very kind of true, you cannot be depressed with an open armpit. I challenge you. All right, go ahead and release. Again, do the needful, whatever your arms or shoulders need to do here. Try to let it go. We're going to put this all together now with that strap. So we're going to start with the left hand holding the strap. Just like you just did, you're going to go back to that. Forgot the second action. Hang on, put your strap over your legs. There's two actions for the upper arm. We only did one. Okay, this is pretty quick, so I'll just show you. Extend that left arm up again. Revolve the arm so the palm faces back. Touch your mid upper back. Do the same thing you did. So here's the tip. Is you're going to take your right hand and revolve the flesh of the arm from the outer arm in. So it's a manual manipulation of the flesh, once again. Of course, we don't do this when we're actually holding the pose, but this gives us an imprint. It gives us a leftover wise action that our body will eventually do spontaneously without this manipulation. So it's just a little turning of the flesh, encouraging that rotation of the arm, outer arm in, inner arm out. Okay, you got it. Just go ahead and release that, and then we'll try the other side. Okay. You're taking hold of your arm, your upper arm, you're rotating the flesh. Rotate the flesh, outer arm in. Okay, press down on the elbow. I forgot to show you this one on the left side. Press down on the elbow, and hopefully you get a sense that your hand can drop down a little lower. That's another thing we can't do manually, but it teaches the arm that action. You might just quickly do the left. Okay, and go ahead and release. Okay, now I think we're ready. We're very well prepared. So left hand's going to take the strap, high position. We're going to revolve that arm well. We're going to bend at the elbow. If you want, you can rotate the flesh and push down on the elbow. You can do those two things here to encourage. Try to keep those fingertips where you've gotten them. Extend, right arm, thumb down. Your thumb is down, knuckles forward. Try to keep the upper arm high as you bend the elbow and swing the arm and catch the strap. And then the last piece is just kind of moving the hands as close as they are willing to go today. Notice the action of the elbows wanting to curl forward. Take the elbow tips back and imagine that from bottom elbow to top elbow, you have huge energy moving from one point to the other. So resist the hands apart without actually letting them move apart. And then don't forget the tailbone, because we do tend to kind of push into the belly here, shorten the back, kind of looking like I call it the pooching belly sway back monster. So take your tailbone into the soft tissue, keep the lumbar long, and don't let your top arm push your head off the central axis. keep your head pushing into your arm, if anything. And remember all that seductive energy. So keep your temples soft, your eyes soft, keep your feet planted. Go ahead and release gently. Just leave it over your legs for a moment. Leave the strap over your legs. And just take a little bit of a Shavasana arm. This is our last pose that we do when we do reclining on the floor, Shavasana. We usually do it chair seated in this class, but extending your arms 45 degrees toward the floor. Tilting the pinkies up and the thumbs down. And imagining there's little streaming sprinklers coming out of your fingertips. And then do whatever you need to do to let that go, to prepare for second side. Okay, so right arm takes the high road here with the strap in hand already. And you're going to revolve the arm as well as you can to have your palm facing back. Try to keep your elbow above your shoulder as you bend the elbow and take the hand to the mid upper back. You can revolve the flesh of the upper arm and also give a little pressure down on the elbow to drop that hand in a little bit lower. The dorsal spine is where we're targeting, right between the shoulder blades. Thumbs down over here with left thumb. Try to keep the upper arm high as you hinge at the elbow, catch the strap, and close as much of the gap as you can between the upper and lower hands. Take both elbow tips back. Make sure your skull is right above your spine. Soften your eyes, take the tailbone in, tip the pelvis back. And just keep some energy going between bottom elbow and top elbow. Relax your jaw. The jaw being tense will not make this a better pose. Okay, wow, good work. Go ahead and release. And I think, let's see, we might be done with this strap. So we're just gonna put the strap aside and we're gonna be standing just for a little bit. And you're gonna stand with your chair behind you, but the taller part of the chair is facing your body. Still don't have a head here. There we go. That should do the trick. So I want you to be distant enough from the chair that you're able to grab it with your hands, but your butt isn't running into it. Your feet can be wide. We're going to do a standing back bend. In back bends, your feet are going to want to turn out like this. So bring them in, even a little bit overdo it so your toes are slightly more in than your heels. And then bring your fingertips onto your chair so that your palms are facing toward you. When we take the torso back in a back bend, we have to move things forward to counter or to offset so that we stay upright. So one thing that moves forward is your tailbone, so the pelvis tilting back. Your hips might push forward, and you're going to feel your buttocks move forward as the torso goes back. So a lot going on in the lower body is going to move forward as the upper body moves back. So take a big in-breath here. And on an exhale, you're going to probably bring more weight of your hands into your chair. Try to curl the inner shoulder blades toward the chest. And feel your butt pushing into the front body. Feel your tailbone sinking into the soft tissue of the body. You don't have to actually feel it. You can imagine it if it's not quite a sensation yet. It will be eventually. Keep spreading and lifting the chest. Keep your feet anchored. Roll your inner thighs back. That's going to help keep you from doing that duck walking kind of formation. So keep your inner thighs rolling back. And then on inhale, you're going to lift yourself out of it. I just saw some really beautiful back bends. So I hope they felt beautiful, because what I see isn't always what you're feeling, but they looked very good on my end. I want you to just step into neutral mountain pose, just to kind of recalibrate. We are going to do that back bend one more time. So just kind of drop into your mountain pose, which is And a pose of effort, of course, all poses are, but you're trying to minimize effort because your alignment is doing most of the work. So you're kind of stacking yourself up as best you can, shoulders, hips, and heels all in a line. Your feet are kind of balanced with all the weight bearing. Your chest is lifted and spread. Your skull is right above the spine. Drop your shoulders. Grow some deep roots out of your feet. Every in-breath, lift a little taller through the top of your head. And see if you can really ground your feet, and then at the same time lift your pelvis, rib cage, and skull slightly higher from the floor without the shoulders coming up either. And then go ahead and release all those efforts and just shake it off, shake the legs maybe. So when you do a gardening session or yard work session, as soon as you come in, do something to bend backwards. So sometimes I just read a book for a while on my stomach on my bed. Sometimes I go onto my back bender. I have a piece of furniture that puts me in a back bend. Sometimes I do these standing ones like we're doing right now. So do something so that you can reverse all that kind of bulging back disc action that you get when you're folding forward. You want to massage those discs in both directions. So you're going back to your chair. You might have widened your stance. Make sure your feet are not turning out. Your toes are slightly turned in. And then on an exhale, you're going to go into your, whatever your kind of peak back bend is. Think about your inner shoulder blades turning in toward the chest. It's called coiling the shoulder blades. Move your buttock flesh forward. Keep tipping the pelvis back. And then on an inhale, lifting up and out of it. You might close the feet a little bit. We're going to do one more mountain pose just to kind of reset and notice. Back bends in general are upregulating to the nervous system so they can bring us out of a dull, sloth-like state. And they're also very energizing and mood enhancing. So when we take these little mountain poses between our poses, it's a good time to kind of notice what those energy signatures are from our poses, any poses. Okay, so now is the time in our practice when we're going to find some wall space. This won't be super extensive. It'll be about 5 minutes. So if you go off camera, that's okay to find a wall space. You only need a little patch of wall. You don't need a giant wall space. So it's really just to touch with one arm at a time. So feel free to adjust your camera so you can see me and to find your wall space. And I'll just kind of talk at you while you're doing that. The first thing we're going to do is called wall clock. And you'll be standing with your left hip kind of a couple feet from the wall. And you're going to take your left arm and reach out and touch the wall with the straight arm with your left hand at 12 o'clock. So feel free to come in closer. I just don't want you hugging the wall because then you're going to be in a distorted upright position. I want you to stay upright and come as close to the wall as you can, staying upright, and your arm is straight up, 12 o'clock position. Okay. So the thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to work this arm clock, this clock arm, I meant to say. We're going to go back in time. You ready? So we're going to move from 12 o'clock, and you're going to just creep your fingers to, let's say, 11:30. You're going to notice, I want you to notice something though. Did you just turn your left hip and shoulder? Did you just rotate them back to escape the shoulder opener here? So now your job really is to keep your shoulders and your hips level. And the hand only gets to crawl back in time as far as you can maintain the shoulders and hips staying forward facing. We're not going to allow left hip or shoulder to rotate back. Try to keep the tailbone moving in to keep your back comfortable. Breathe into the stretch when you feel it. And if you're having a bothersome shoulder, you can do this with a bent elbow. So don't feel like you have to do something that hurts you. You can do it with a bent elbow in a lower position with your left hand. You're going to stay about another half a minute. So as you open, you might crawl the hand. Maybe you're at 11 now. Maybe you got to 10:30. Maybe you're still at 11:45 or 12. Now start to move the hand back to the 12 o'clock position. And you're gonna drop the hand down so the arm is level with the floor. You're gonna walk away from the wall a little bit so your arm is level with the floor. Still fingertips on the wall. So your arm is straight out to the wall, straight, level with the floor. Good. So now you're gonna be tiptoeing away from the wall. Angling, other way, yep, there you go. Angling your shoulders and your hips away from the wall as far as your body will allow. Keep your fingers kind of tented up on the wall and breathe into it. So we don't want to go to the point of pain or anger or irritability, just in front of that. Good. Now start to walk back in to relieve the arm stretch, the shoulder stretch, the chest stretch. And now you can just kind of do a little do-si-do, so you're back at 12 o'clock with your right arm now. And you're walking in a little closer to the wall. Again, you don't have to hug the wall or distort your upright position. Be as close as you can with a straight arm. Bend the elbow if you need. And now this time we get to go forward in time. So you're starting at noon. We're going to just creep the hand toward the 1 o'clock position. But again, your hip and shoulder will want to turn so that you avoid that opening. So keep your right hip and shoulder turning forward, not letting it rotate back. Relax your temples, relax your facial skin. Take the tailbone into the body. Breathe, breathe, breathe. So there's no points for suffering. There's no extra credit if you're suffering. Make sure you're not. Be right in front of that suffering. Where there's sensation, there's an opportunity to open, to extend, to make more supple, to elongate. But we're not torturing ourselves. There's that open armpit again. Are you depressed? Okay, so start to walk the hand now back toward the 12 o'clock position. And now you're going to inch away from the wall until you can straighten the arm so it's level with the floor. And you're just touching the wall with the fingertips. And the arm is directly off the line of the shoulder. And then you're going to start to pivot out away from the wall. This time we're encouraging the right shoulder and hip to move forward, even though it really wants to swing back. Make sure your head is over your spine, your neck is neutral, it's not yelling at you. Sometimes when we do back bends and chest openers, the head is thrown forward. So keeping your head, the idea that the spine moves up through the core of the skull, floating, just floating there. 2 more big inhales. And then gently you're going to pivot to face the wall to start to slowly, gently ease out of this. Good. Now take a wall child's pose. This is angling your body very slightly away from the wall. You cross your forearms and rest your head on your forearms. Forearms are on the wall. We're not doing any forward bending. Your body's kind of straight. You're just kind of angled at the wall. And when the forehead is covered up, the brain goes quieter. And then as you feel ready, you can come out of it. So that wall pose, that wall child, is also really good if you're dizzy. It's a great way to kind of alleviate. It can be. Of course, if standing isn't a good idea, then sit down, of course. The next piece, I'm slightly worried about just because we all have different chairs. So I just want you to watch. once you get your camera reconfigured to we're off the wall now. Cobra Pose is a back bending position we usually do lying on our front side. So there's a way to do it with a chair. One option, if your chair is not backless, like I have a backless yoga chair, which allows me to do a lot more than a normal backed chair. One option, if you aren't having success, is to turn your chair sideways. But first, just try it the normal, kind of facing the seat of the chair. You definitely want to be on a yoga mat because I don't want your feet or your chair slipping. So again, if you don't have a mat yet, then you might just kind of mimic this, but in a safe way where your legs are right underneath you. So what you're going to do is get your hands as far to the back corners of the chair as you can. And maybe just watch for a second so you can see where we're going to end up or where we're trying to go here. I'm stepping my feet back and I'm going to anchor my hips to my chair. So some of you have wrist issues and you might want to do this on your fists. So I want you to kind of modify if you need that. You can also modify and do this on your forearms. But my hips are right on the chair edge and my hands are kind of on the backmost part. And I'm getting a really strong, nice feeling back bend here. So this can be your friend if you can learn to work with the chair. And I'm just going to watch you guys make attempts because I'm interested to see how this goes for you. So you step your feet back, attempt to take the hips to the edge of the chair. Nice. Oh, wow. Got it. Okay. Make sure that chair is stable. Look at you guys. Amazing. So some of you are hanging in the shoulders, so give a little more pressure down through the hand. Good. Coil the shoulder blades. Yeah, the no neck thing. We want to have a neck. Good. All right. When you need to come out, you come out because it's an intensive one. I think we were mostly successful here. Those looked really nice. I want you to take a mountain, and I am going to have you do it again. So just take a mountain pose to kind of reset and offset any fatigue and to feel the effects, of course. Just line yourself up, standing up tall. When we've mastered this pose, mountain pose, we almost feel like we're not doing anything at all because we've mastered our orientation, the arrangement of ourselves in this gravity field, which is pretty amazing. Okay, so we're gonna try it one more time. So remember, I always say safety first. I saw a few wiggly chairs. Just make sure that chair is not going anywhere. It's definitely not worth an injury just to try this silly back bend. You can back bend other ways if it's not feeling safe today. The hips can anchor down to the chair. Remember the rotation of the flesh of your arms. That really does help you roll the shoulders back, shoot the chest forward, and restore neck length. And even though tailbone wants to fly up to the ceiling, take tailbone toward the chair edge. Good. Wonderful. You guys look amazing. Okay, you're gonna help yourself out of there. Come back up. That was deep wrist flexion. If you need to paintbrush your name in the sky, you can do that. I'm ambidextrous here, doing both. Okay. So now we're going to partially sit on the chair. You can see what I'm about to do. We're going to be sitting kind of side saddle. So I'm taking my left butt cheek onto my chair. My right butt cheek is not on my chair. And the back of my chair is to my left side. So left buttock on the chair, left foot right under your left knee. The back of the chair is on your left side. This is again another one of those everybody's chair is different. What we're going to attempt to do is take the right toes back until you see that your right thigh is pretty much vertical. One piece of back bending we don't always pay attention to. Back bending is about opening our front body. There's this big landscape starting at the hip flexor here and going all the way down the thigh. For most of us, it's contracted, it's tight, it's angry, and that will also upset your back. So what I want you to do is take your right toes underneath, pressure into the heel, so it's like you're driving that leg back a little bit, and taking the knee, pointing it down energetically. So we're in a back bend, so what does the pelvis need to do? Take the tailbone forward, tip the pelvis back. I want you to think about this hip flexor where we do more contraction there than extension in our lifestyle. So I want you to think about it yawning open the hip flexor. Iron out that crease. Keep moving the buttock flesh forward. And just for a little variety, you're going to turn and face now the back of the chair and bring a twist into this. You're grabbing the chair with both hands, you're turning to the left. And on an inhale, feel free to come out of it. We're going to finish it off just sweeping the right arm up alongside the ear. And just imagine this crescent shape. You can take the top of your right foot onto the floor if that works for you. Imagine this crescent shape starting at your foot, finishing at your fingertips. You can take your eyes slightly up the wall. Don't let your eyes roll up in your head. This isn't The Exorcist. So you're shifting your gaze up because your head tilted back, not because you're rolling your eyes up. Inhale out of it, lift, lift, lift. Bring your right foot back underneath you. You can do a 180 on your chair seat if that's easy for you. And have the right buttock now supported. The left leg, I saw some of you, a completely kind of vertical thigh wasn't happening, but do your best to, to take the foot back, and everybody has their own limit, so honor yours. My toes are tucked under so I can kind of direct weight back into my heel and I can start to open this hip flexor area. For a little encouragement for the pelvic tilt, just take your left hand onto your waistline or your hip and your thumb gently push in on the tailbone. It's a manual kind of reminder to take the tailbone in to tip the pelvis back. Hopefully you gained a little bit more openness to the front left thigh there when you did that. And now keep doing the action with the leg, but you're going to turn to the back of the chair with both hands grabbing on, revolving yourself to the right. And then inhale out of it, and when you're facing straight ahead again, sweep the left arm up and try to really sense this sweeping flow of energy from your foot all the way out through the fingertips. The farther the arm goes back, the more the chest will lift and spread. Soften your eyes. Inhale, lift yourself up and help yourself swivel onto the chair seat the normal way. And go ahead and just sit forward in a more mild version of child's pose. So we're not doing the deep one today. You might do elbows on your thighs. Just letting your head bow down. Try to create one smooth, single curvature on your spine from your brain stem all the way to your tailbone. That's why we call it the child's pose, because it was the position the spine was in utero. We didn't get the other secondary curves until we learned to walk. And then you're gonna help yourself come up. And feel free to use the back of the chair for support. We're gonna go back to our cooling breath, but we're gonna add something to it now. So just a reminder, it's inhale through the mouth, exhale through the nostrils. But we're gonna try to do inhale for 4 counts and exhale for 6. And if that ratio isn't your favorite, just try to have the exhale be longer than the inhale. Okay, so first, just setting up with shoulders in line with hips. Feeling that wonderful upright position. Your feet are right under your knees. You can have your chest lifted, your chin slightly tilted down. Little straw-like inhales through the lips for 4 counts. And then closing the lips and exhaling through the nose for 6 counts. Keep going. Normally in pranayama, we have the chest lifted and the chin tilted toward the chest. This is called Jalandhara Bandha. It seals the highest aperture of the spine. It conserves the energy of the spine. And for some added interest here, do your best to not let your chest sink on exhale. Just another few cycles. When you come through the next exhale, you can raise the head, close your eyes. Just take a few moments just observing your unconditioned breathing, your natural breath, how it comes and goes without any effort on your part. Notice any effects you feel following that cooling breathing. Notice sensation. It's been said that our true selves are really in the spaces between the thoughts, which when we're awake, the thoughts sometimes feel constant. So maybe here, if we're lucky, if we've practiced well, we might start to have a few more gaps in the thought waves, between the thought waves. One of the simplest definitions of yoga from the ancient texts, Patanjali, the sage. Yoga is the stilling of the fluctuation of thought. And when we address the tension in our body, we automatically start to remove tension from the brain. Just trust that nothing more is needed here, just sitting quietly and paying attention. Start to take a few deeper breaths now. Make little fists out of your hands. Squeeze your toes as well. And extend your fingers, extend your toes. Start to rotate your wrists and roll the ankles. You can do that by pressing the ball mounds and toes onto the floor, lifting the heels. Rotating the joints of the ankles and wrists. And then place your heels, and you can open your eyes if they're closed. We're going to now bend and extend elbows and knees. Do the arms first. Bring your hands to your legs, and then just take turns straightening your legs. And then you can slide forward on your chair. We're just going to finish with a little bit of a flowing twist sequence. So inhale, big arms up. Exhale, turning to the left, placing the hands to the leg and the chair. And inhale, big arms up. Exhale, turning to the right. Inhale, arms up. Exhale. Inhale, arms up. Last time to the right here. This time, inhale, arms up, and exhale, hands together to your heart center. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and let it go. From the place within me that I know to be divine, I honor that place within each of you. Namaste. Right, gardening back on. I'll see you guys next week. Take care, stay cool.